Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Academic Standing Committee, a subcommittee of the Senate asynchronous workshop. Thank you for joining us. My name is Katerina Almondral, and I'm the chair of the Academic Standing Committee. The Academic Standing Committee creates and reviews academic policies in the Academic Policies section of the catalog. You can find our committee members on our website. We represent our department's perspectives and concerns to the committee. And I will show you our website next. Here on the website, you can see the Academic Standing Committee asynchronous workshop that you're viewing right now, just at the top. On the website, you'll also find policy updates, departmental attendance policies, a list of committee members, and much, much more. Today, we'll share an overview of a number of areas, including new policies like the first-year seminar enrollment policy and the emergency distance learning policy, revised policies like the academic integrity policy, and other areas like the syllabus, attendance policy, grades, and academic appeals. So let's begin our policy discussion. Hello, everyone. We're going to go over the new policies. Those are the first-year seminar enrollment policy and the emergency distance learning policy approved by the Senate in spring of 2025 and in effect now for fall 2025. The first-year seminar enrollment policy stipulates that beginning in the fall of 2025 semester, new first-time students must enroll in the first-year seminar in their first semester when scheduling 9 or more equated credits. Now, they can include the course in either session 1 or session 2. All new transfer students must enroll in the FYS in the first semester, regardless of credits. New or part-time students registered for 8 or fewer equated credits should consider registering for the FYS in their first semester. But if not, they must enroll in the subsequent semester in which they would reach their 9th cumulative credit. New students who are required to but do not register for the first-year seminar in the first semester will have an advising hold placed on their account for the next semester registration. They can register for the semester, but must complete a one-time postponement request detailing the reason for not registering for the FYS in the first semester. Academic affairs administrators will ask program directors to review prior to the add drop deadline and will notify students if the waiver postponement is granted. Students must meet with an advisor to register for the following semester and include the FYS in their schedule. And finally, the policy stipulates that students who change majors after successfully completing an FYS course for their major do not have to retake the FYS for their new major. The emergency distance learning policy, a new policy approved by the Senate in June of 2025, stipulates that in the event of an emergency, which is defined as a LaGuardia or CUNY authorized cancellation of classes for a day or part of a day, campus closure, when the determination is made that campus operations are to be remote, we recommend the following considerations be made for scheduled in-person classes. It would be reasonable, if not preferable, to cancel class entirely. Online learning done in emergency fashion should not be considered a default fallback option available at a moment's notice. Careful planning by the instructor is vital if a switch in modality is to be effectively achieved. Transition to a synchronous online session shouldn't happen without 12 hours notice. For example, students and faculty who are on campus at the time of a sudden closure will need time to return to a safe location where they can attend an online class. Also, provisions for switching from in-person to an online synchronous modality should be mentioned in the syllabus or the learning management system prior to the emergency, and the requirements for students should be made clear and not require technology other than that already specified by the required modality. Here's an example wording of something you might include in your syllabus. Emergency Zoom link. If there's an emergency and we need to pivot to online, we'll use the Zoom link to meet on the day and time that class is scheduled. This will be to check in and discuss next steps. And for students that can't attend the online session, a recording will be posted. Alternatives to an online synchronous session could include a recorded online synchronous session that students may attend if they can. Students who are unable to attend can be provided access to the recording to serve as a substitute form of instruction. An opt-out from recording option for students attending the synchronous session should be offered. An independent learning activity that can be completed by the student at their own time, and/or a video recorded by the instructor and posted for everyone. The Online Learning Committee is happy to work with programs, departments, and faculties to help craft sample wording and syllabus design options for instructors who'd like to include an online provision for their classes in the event of an emergency. So please contact the chairs of the Online Learning Committee for this help. Thank you. And now on to our next policy discussion.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to be talking about the syllabus and some important requirements. First, I wanted to say that the syllabus is considered an official contract, so it's like a quasi-contract between the student and the professor. So for some students, this may be their first exposure to your course. So it's important that you put all pertinent and important information in the syllabus relevant to your course. Most departments do not have one uniform syllabus, but you can contact chairs and professors to get samples for different courses, and you should do so if you need assistance with developing your syllabus. Now, some recommendations from the Academic Standing Committee that are important. As you see here, your syllabus should include these 8 important components. Basic course information is important. The course information will allow the students to understand what's required in the course and also to confirm that they're taking the correct course. So professors should include their name, office hours, contact information, explanation of how much time may be spent in the course, whether it's a lecture, lab, or clinical. The title of the course should be included, and any necessary prerequisites. Also, you want to remember office hours are a requirement. So you must put those office hours in your syllabus, and you should include the dates and times of your office hours. We recommend at least 3 hours a week, depending on a professor's availability and course load. And also what is important is the course description. This allows students to understand the requirements of a course and what the course may entail. Pathways to learning objectives. Those are also important. Those should be outlined clearly in your syllabus so a student has an understanding of what their obligations are. The learning objectives should be for each week, and each class should include in their syllabus their course objectives. Learning objectives need to be specific to the lessons being taught in class, and it's important that all professors meet these course objectives in order for students to get a full lesson plan in the course. Also, required textbooks are important. They need to be included in the syllabus along with any acceptable additions, whether used editions or newer editions, so students can get those textbooks before the course starts and begin doing their coursework. Also, the syllabus should list any recommended books. If there's any books that you think may assist with the students' learning in the course, you should put those in the syllabus. Supplies are important too. There may be certain departments that require certain supplies to complete the course. especially like in the health and the science departments. So you should include any necessary supplies, or in the theater department. That's very important. So the syllabus must specifically state all the requirements for the course, test requirements, and course policies. And also you should include the attendance policy for your course. We recently had a change in our attendance policy, so you want to consult with your chairs in your department and your programs to make sure you have the correct attendance policy in the syllabus. Additionally, grading is important, so you want to outline the grading criteria, whether it's percentage-based, point-based. You want to outline that so all students are aware of how they will be graded. Also, the policy for withdrawing from the course and repeat course policy should also be stated in the syllabus, just in case a student does fail or wants to withdraw from the course. Some other important things are academic integrity. You should include a link to LaGuardia's Academic Integrity and Ethical Standards, or CUNYs, so the students understand the code of conduct and how that may impact their grades and their success at LaGuardia. Other things that are important are recording. If you have an online course, you want to mention how if that course will be recorded, what are the requirements for the online course, if students must have their videos on, and what type of online course it may be. It may be a hybrid, asynchronous, or synchronous course, and that should be included in your syllabus so students are aware where the course will be conducted. If there's any special teaching methods, the syllabus should include those. We have self-instruction modules, cooperative learning activities, study guides or quizzes. All of those should be outlined in your syllabus, and the dates or the weeks when those quizzes or specific training modules will be implemented. Lastly, things that are important are the syllabus should outline the grading scale and grading criteria for their final grade, so students understand how they were graded in the course. And also, it's also important to understand that some students may have disabilities. So you want to outline the procedures for students with disabilities and issues that may come about pertaining to student affairs. That's very important because there are students who may need special accommodations. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to the next presenter.
Before we go to the next presenter, do we have any questions for Kyle that you'd like to ask at this moment? Okay, we're ready. Go ahead.
Great. I'll turn over to the next section. Just one quick comment. Thank you so much, Kyle. This was very detailed and great. The pathways learning objectives, actually Middle States requires, one of the recommendations from Middle States was that we include these pathways learning objectives in the syllabus. So this is not optional. They have to show up. When they're auditing us, they look at whether the syllabi, sample syllabi have this or not. If you're not sure what the pathway learning objectives are for your course, you can always reach out to your chair to find out. Okay, so that's just a little clarification. Thank you again, Kyle. Hopefully I will be talking about the attendance policies. This is one of those policies that a lot of people had questions about, and it's new. So hopefully I will answer most of your questions. And if not, then of course we are happy to clarify. So first of all, the very important distinction needs to be made between the verification of enrollment and LaGuardia's attendance policy. This question comes up regularly at our workshop, so we'll reiterate one more time that verification of enrollment is a CUNY's way of checking if a student is indeed enrolled in a course at LaGuardia or not. So verification of enrollment is required by all colleges from CUNY Central. Everybody has to fill it out, and this will be very important in making decisions related to financial aid and so on. So this is very important. The purpose of this process is to identify students who have never attended, in other words, are not actively enrolled in a course. Verification of enrollment has direct consequences for students' enrollment status, and wherever it is indicated that a student has not attended class up to the deadline of verification of enrollment, that student will be withdrawn from the class. by registrar's office. You probably have seen that it is a WN grade. The verification of enrollment happens through CUNY first. Usually we receive several emails about the deadlines. If all of your students have shown up, you can go ahead and submit that ahead. You don't have to wait until the last day. However, if you're waiting on a student or two to make sure that they do show up, then you can just wait until the deadline. But you have to submit it by the deadline. This is very, very important. And it defaults to yes, so you only have to change those, one or two students if they have never showed up. Never showing up means in any form they have not contacted you, they have not been in communication with you. So if a student has not come to class, for instance, but has emailed you and has been in contact with you and confirms that they are enrolled, then they are not. They are officially enrolled, even if their attendance, starts out, wobbly. So that's just a clarification. Let's turn to our new attendance policy. And here I want to also clarify something really quickly before we get into the details of the new policy. So while it is known and it's been stated many times that CUNY is a non-attendance taking institution, this status of CUNY has absolutely nothing to do with attendance. It is no bearing on taking attendance as an institution. It is simply a terminology that is used by the State Department, I believe, or the DOE, the Department of Education, to designate universities. So I suggest that for our purposes, just forget about the fact that CUNY is designated as a non-attendance taking institution. It has no bearing on our discussion. And it is not something that we need to be concerned with or affects us in any sort of way. So that being said, CUNY allows each college to come up with its own attendance policy, and indeed each college in CUNY has its own attendance policy, and it varies. It is not exactly the same. Recently, we have embarked and successfully changed our attendance policy that had several issues. One of which was that participation attendance was defined very narrowly. The other was that it put most of the accountability on the instructor rather than the student, in terms of requiring instructors to take attendance. And since web attendance has been discontinued, and since the compliance rate was so low on web attendance, the problem that we faced with this policy was also that a large segment of the faculty population was effectively not in compliance with that policy, because even though it was required to take attendance, there was no evidence that many faculty were taking attendance. So there were several issues with that policy. It was also very rigid and very punitive in terms of the percentages. And so based on all of the discussions with the chairs and faculty and the Senate and academic standing and the different departments, the college decided to make this policy a little bit more flexible, but yet programmatic. What does that mean? I'll read the policy and then I will explain this. So this is what the new policy states for the college catalog. Class attendance and participation play a crucial role in the learning process and directly impact students' overall academic achievement. Therefore, students are expected to attend and participate in all class sessions regardless of modality. Departments or degree programs shall establish specific attendance requirements, and those will appear on the course syllabus. Students must review individual course requirements in order to understand the effect their absences may have on grade in a course. So effectively, this is translated into a requirement that is the college asks from each department to develop their own attendance policy as they see it fit. Whatever their programmatic needs are, whatever their faculty's preference is, but it has to be a uniform, or at least a couple of uniform policies. Let's say for core courses, there could be one set of policy. For electives, there could be another set of policy. There could be an umbrella policy across all courses in that department, but it is not up to the individual instructor alone. Neither is it up to the college, as an umbrella institution, to define what the right attendance policy is.
Okay, good morning / afternoon to everyone. I'm Dr. Andrew McFarland, and I represent the Humanities Department on the Academic Standing Committee, and I'm here to talk about the workshops section on academic integrity. So there have been a couple of updates to the process of academic integrity. I want to try and go over those and show you where you can download and have access to all the different forms that are available in this section of the workshop. So, a couple of things sort of generally to begin to talk about the college's academic integrity policy. LaGuardia's academic integrity policy follows CUNY's academic integrity policy. A few years ago, the Academic Integrity Working Group sat down and revised LaGuardia's academic integrity policy in light of different updates from the CUNY Central academic integrity policy. So our policy follows the CUNY policy very closely. However, you can adopt a more specific policy for your class to meet your particular needs, provided it's consistent with the college's policy. You also can follow a departmental academic integrity policy if your department has one. So there is a little flexibility in terms of being able to accommodate more specific needs of different classes that you might require. I know that we've got a lot of different programs that look very different throughout the college, and so it is sometimes necessary to have a more specific academic integrity policy for your specific class. And our policy is set up to where you should be able to do that, provided, of course, that you don't create something that's inconsistent with LaGuardia's policy. You can find the revised LaGuardia policy by going to the Academic Integrity Committee's website at www.laguardia.edu/academics/ASC. So let's talk about the process for filing an academic integrity complaint. According to this flowchart, there are a couple of different steps to take. First, step one is that you suspect there's been some sort of academic integrity misconduct, and you, as faculty or staff, conduct an investigation. After your investigation and you check to see whether you think that the incident requires filling out an academic integrity complaint form, the next step is simply ask yourself, does this require the complaint form? Now, at this step, we like to indicate that there's some faculty discretion here. It's not always the case, in my experience teaching, that each instance of academic integrity rises to the level of needing to fill out the academic integrity complaint form. So there may be a quite small sort of infraction, and you want to have a conversation with the student, and maybe you can turn that into a teachable moment. And other instances in which you believe that the infraction does rise to the level of filling out the form. If in your judgment there's no form required, then you simply can end the process there. But let's suppose that you do think that you need to fill out the form. So step 3 is filling out the form. And then step 4 is you need to try and meet with the student, whether virtually or in person. So that is a required step is you need to try and meet with the student, have a conversation with them about the alleged complaint. And that leads to steps 4A, 4B, and 4C. So at 4A, there are a couple of things that can and do happen when you try to meet with a student. So one, the student might just not show up to a scheduled meeting, um, or they might not respond to your email when you reach out to try and schedule something. Um, the student might show up to the meeting and they say, okay, I did it. I did engage in academic misconduct, and I'm going to just accept the penalty that you have determined is appropriate in this particular case. Or the student might just not sign the form at all, or they might sign the form. There's a spot on the form, for example, that says, like, we're going to sign the form, but we're not admitting to the allegations. And I'll go over that in more detail when we take a look at the form in just a little bit. 4B is that the student makes no statement, signs the form, and sanction stands. 4C is the student decides to challenge the accusation and the sanction. And then after that, they have to meet with the chair for review and or the chief academic integrity officer. So there are a couple of different possible things that might take place after step 4, reflected in 4A, 4B, and 4C. Um, let's do so next. Let's think about step 5A. If either a 4A or 4B happens, then the next steps are to give the form to the student, send it to your chair and the chief academic integrity officer. And I'll give contact information for that in just a little bit. Um, and once that's done, then the matter is simply ended. 4C, however, is where things get a little more complicated and there are a lot more steps involved. So 4C is the situation where you've met with the student, they say, no, they don't admit to the accusation and they want to challenge it. So it is within students' rights to challenge the accusation of academic misconduct, and that's part of their due process rights. And so students who choose this option then will need to set up and sign. First, they need to sign the form and check the box that says they wish to challenge the accusation. And then that form needs to still get sent to the departmental chair and the chief academic integrity officer. But the next step in this means that in order for the student to challenge it, they have to present their case. And they're going to do this through the chief academic integrity officer, but they also have to present their case to the Faculty Student Disciplinary Committee. That's what FSDC stands for. So now we're down here at step 6. The student presents the case to the Faculty Student Disciplinary Committee, and then the faculty needs to, according to the flow chart, it says the faculty is supposed to email the registrar with this. The grade PEN, which is short for pending, during this arbitration process is available to actually assign to students in CUNY first. So when we first created this flow chart, that option was not available in CUNY first, but has since become available. During this arbitration period, you should assign the students a grade of PEN until the completion of that arbitration. So that is all going to be determined after the Faculty Student Disciplinary Committee renders its decision. So that is an option available again in the CUNY First drop-down menu when you're assigning grades at the end of the semester. So one possible thing to let students know about is if they are in a position where, for instance, they are trying to graduate and what have you, then it's really important that they don't engage in academic misconduct because the pending grade won't get resolved until after the FSDC comes down with their decision. So at step 7, once the students presented their case, either that sanction by the faculty or staff is upheld or it's overturned. And then the chief academic integrity officer lets the faculty know the outcome of that procedure. And then that's when the process ends. So, a couple of different questions that people sometimes have about this process. And one is, do I have to fill out the form every time? And some faculty have different opinions about this, but here's what the academic standing committee has to say. There is faculty discretion here. You might judge that a student who's engaged in some minor form of misconduct doesn't rise to the level of filling out the form. But one thing is important to remember is that when you fill out the form, this is a way to document that case. So even if you think, well, I don't think that the student deserves some sort of academic sanction, right? You might still consider filling out the form in that now there's a record of it that is on file with the Chief Academic Integrity Officer. So now, in the event the student goes on, for instance, to engage in academic misconduct again in a different class, now there's a record of it. Even if the first instance wasn't necessarily that bad in your judgment, repeat offenders now, we have a way of documenting those who go on to do it multiple times. So, something to consider and to think about. Who is our Chief Academic Integrity Officer? That would be Dr. Tamika Battle, whose email address I have provided here in the slide. And the Faculty Student Disciplinary Committee, who's on that? This is a committee that comprises faculty and staff from different areas of the college, and they're the ones who adjudicate the allegations of academic misconduct, should the student want to challenge that accusation. Who checks the email address? So the email address academicintegrity@lagcc.cuny.edu is where you will send the completed academic integrity form that you filled out, and that is handled by the office of our Chief Academic Integrity Officer, Dr. Tamika Battle. In this next section, I want to just briefly show you what the new form looks like. This new form has a number of different things that you'll need to fill out. In particular, one thing that we've updated from previous forms is we've given more options for the different possible combinations of things that might happen that the student, for instance, doesn't show up with in time for the conference. They don't respond to your emails after you contact them for the conference. So there are a lot of different possible combinations, and we wanted to reflect that in the updated form. And just a checklist of different things the sort of make sure that you do, and reminders of things for what to do when you're filling out this form. As I said previously, when the form is completed, you'll need to send that to Dr. Tamika Battle at academicintegrity@lagcc.cuny.edu. So, where can you find the form? There are a couple of different places you can find that complaint form. One is in your faculty portal through the LaGuardia website. So once you log into the faculty portal, you should be able to access a copy of that form under the Faculty Resources tab. Alternatively, you can always find a copy of the form at the Academic Standing Committee's website, listed here. Once you scroll down, you can find that the academic integrity complaint form can be downloaded here. And you can also click on the link that has LaGuardia's academic integrity policy. So 2 ways that you can access the complaint form, either through the faculty portal or simply by going to the Academic Standing Committee's website. And that does it for academic integrity.
Hello, my name is Abdul. I'm the registrar, and we're going to go over the grade policies and usually the most frequently asked questions that we get in regards to the grade policy. And let me just share my screen here so I could show you. All right, let's get started. So our grading policy begins, well, let's start off with when grades are due. Grades are usually due at the end of every semester, and grades are collected at the end of each session and are due within 72 hours of the last date of finals. All due dates are on the academic calendar. Grades are submitted using CUNY First instructions. Excuse me, grades are submitted using CUNY First. Instructions are sent detailing deadlines and when each grade should be awarded. So we post those information on the academic calendar as far as when the deadlines are. So please take some time to review the academic calendar. But we also send reminders at the end of the semester to all instructors. Let's go over one of our most frequently asked questions as far as the grading policy goes. WU grade policy. So a WU grade is when a student withdrew unofficially. And what this means is the student has participated in at least one class and then stopped participating, and they did not withdraw or drop the class. And it's the end of the semester. This student would need to receive a WU grade because they didn't participate in any of the activities in the class. Now, in contrast, the F grade is an earned grade. So the WU grade should not be given in place of an F grade. The WU grade and the F grade are two different grades. The F grade is an earned grade. It's based on the poor performance and the student not meeting the learning objectives or outcomes. So the student attended the class in its entirety throughout the semester and did not successfully complete the objectives of the class. That student would receive a F grade. The F grades policy is the same, basically, that the WU grade shouldn't be interchanged for an F grade, and vice versa. Again, this is an earned grade, so basically a student must complete the coursework, and this is different also from the incomplete grade. And we'll go over that in a little bit. If there is an error with the grade, so sometimes we get errors with WNs or WN reversals, or there's a grade assigned that needs to be changed. It may be corrected by using the grade change form option in CUNY First. All grade changes must be accompanied by sufficient explanation and usually requires a chairperson's approval. The process can begin in CUNY First. So you sign into your CUNY First account, go to your faculty center in the top left, and then you click on the grade change forms tile. That's where you will find the option for the grade change, and you can submit the change on CUNY First. Now let's go over the incomplete grade policy. The incomplete grade policy contains that this grade should only be given after the consultation with the student with the following guidelines. So when there is a reasonable expectation that a student can successfully complete the course requirements no later than the last day of the following semester. So include session 1 and 2. So there should be an expectation that the student will make up the work by the following semester in order to receive an incomplete grade. The incomplete grade is a temporary grade awarded in place of a permanent grade that or requires further evaluation. So once the grade is placed, there's an expectation that the student will complete coursework to receive a final grade. So please don't assign an incomplete grade if the student did not intend to complete any coursework to make up work to receive a final grade. The grade of incomplete, if it lapses, meaning no other grade has been assigned after the coursework is completed, and that would be done through a grade change form to change the incomplete grade to a letter grade. Now, if that doesn't happen and the timeline lapses, the grade will change from incomplete to F incomplete, essentially an F grade for that class. So it's very important to assign the grade or do the grade change form once the student completes the remaining coursework. The incomplete grade policy form and follow-up. So the incomplete grade is never initiated by an instructor. It has to be initiated by the student and cannot be given in place of a failing grade in a course. After a student requests an incomplete grade, the faculty and the student must complete together the request and incomplete grade form that is found on our ASC website. The form is available online on the ASC website. The request form includes a deadline by which any missed assignments must be completed. The student receiving an incomplete is required to submit all completed work by the end of the semester following the one in which the incomplete grade is given. So basically, if you are registered for fall 2025, you receive an incomplete grade, they have until spring 2026, session 1 and 2, before the end of session 2 to complete and make up any classwork. Upon completion and formal evaluation of the missed work, the instructor must submit an official grade change form to the registrar's office. Failure to submit such a form will result, again, in a conversion of the incomplete grade into an F incomplete. The academic departments may designate courses in which incomplete grade may not be given. So please check with your department to ensure that there are no classes in your program that cannot be given an incomplete grade. And that concludes pretty much a summary of the most frequently asked questions about grading. Thank you all for listening, and we'll pass it on to the next segment.
I'm Vera Albrecht, and I'm going to talk about academic appeals. The academic appeals process starts when students initiate the process with an advisor who reviews their written statement, helps them with their statement, and also helps them organize supporting documentation. Next, after the student and the advisor both have signed the appeal, it is submitted electronically to the appeals committee. Next, the registrar's representative compiles the appeal for committee review and adds supporting documentation such as the student's transcript. Next, appeals are then distributed among committee members who review their assigned cases and present findings to the full committee. After reviewing and discussing all findings, the appeals committee collectively decides whether to approve, deny, or table each appeal. Students receive notification of the committee's decision within 1 or 2 weeks business days. That is in the ideal case, of course, during winter, fall 2 or summer, spring 2 sessions, it will take longer. The Academic Appeals Committee consists of faculty from each department in addition to staff and a representative of the registrar's office. They meet twice a month during regular semesters and once a month during fall 2 and spring 2. The committee reviews the following requests. It could be a change of grade to W due to extenuating circumstances. That could be, for example, a health issue that occurred after the deadline to withdraw and prevented the student to complete the semester or prevented the student to withdraw in time. This results in a W for all classes during the semester. So it cannot be just only one class affected if there were extenuating circumstances. The student will be asked to take the W for all classes taken during that semester. In addition to a W, a student can ask for change of an earned grade to a higher grade. In that case, the committee requests assistance from the department. For example, regrading an exam or regrading a paper, or regrading by a different faculty member. It's important that all appeals must be filed timely. That is, by the end of the semester, the student is enrolled following the semester for which the appeal is filed.
Please bookmark our website. It's a little bit of a new website, but now if you Google it, it should come up. We keep updating it, we keep developing it, and there's a lot of really important information. But the most important takeaway from us is know who represents you on the academic standing committee, and if there are any specific issues or situations that you want to discuss, for instance, a specific student, whether you're not sure that you should give them an F or a W, for instance, right? Talk to your representative, ask your representative on the academic standing committee's website, committee, and if they don't have the answer, they will get you the answer. If you are not in an academic department and therefore perhaps you do not have a representative, you can always reach out, I would say, to any of us, but definitely to the chair